Good morning, friends. Welcome to August 16th, 2020, Unity Spiritual Center of Anchorage online Sunday celebration. And I start by acknowledging that I stand on the ground of the Dena'ina people. And so we start with prayer this morning, friends. And let's just settle into this moment. Shaking off any hustle and bustle of the morning, any technical difficulties, any physical aches, and just allowing a new moment, a new page to be this time together of connecting and growing and learning and sharing. And so, with gratitude and with joy, we step into this morning, and so it is. Amen. Yes, all right. So, we're going to start with music. Yay. So, here it comes. It's a sing-along today. So practice your singing voice. La, 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 la. You ready? Oh, let's make it big. I want to make sure the words are nice and big. Okay. It's been a little while since we sang this song. I bet you remember it, though. Ooh, goodness. Do I remember? That's the question. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just what I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just what I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. You sound wonderful today, friends. I'm sure you do. All right. Let's see. What do we have next? Next is the Daily Word with Nancy.
Good morning. Today's word is protection. I shine my light and feel protected. Feelings of fear that creep into my life may conjure childhood memories of scary nighttime images and noises. As a child, I may have felt afraid of the dark or startled by an unfamiliar sound, but the morning sun always dispelled the darkness, and I realized there was never anything to fear. I keep that knowledge alive as I use principle according to law to dissolve the darkness of fear. I feel the comfort and safety of understanding faith based upon principle and law. Now, when any darkness descends in my life, I remember that my divine nature includes the principles of dominion, strength, and love. As I attune more fully to realizing my divinity as principle, light dawns within my consciousness, and I realize that protection is always mine. I shine my light and feel protected.
Thank you, Nancy. Look at that. I remembered to unmute myself. Just like the first time. I can't be taught. All right. Whew. Oh, I suppose I should put the slide up before we start singing. Okay, so let's move into our meditation time, friends. Just relax and allow your body to settle. You may even want to close your eyes at some point or settle them, rest them softly on a focal point. The words are certainly simple enough that you'll catch on. Peace, peace, peace. Peace, peace, peace. Peace I am. Peace, peace, peace. Let's do love now. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. Love I am. Love, love, love. Now choose your own word. Peace, peace, peace. Peace, peace, peace. Peace I am. Peace, peace, peace. And just breathe. Allow each breath the opportunity to settle the body just a little more. If you notice thoughts, plans scurrying about, just peace, be still. You can always pick up those thoughts later. Peace, be still. And just allow that breath, that peace, to open even further. Feel that settling of the body and the opening. The opening of the connection, of the remembering of who you are. Let there be clarity instead of the fog of worry and distress. Let the fog clear. Let there be clarity. That each knows the truth who they are and who they've come here to be. In this moment, this place of peace, simply being. Relaxing anything or anywhere where there's tension. Allowing the moment of peace. Just aware of the breath. Aware without judgment of any tensions. And bringing it back to center. Peace, be still. Peace, I am. And so I invite you to
bring to mind someone or something that you deeply appreciate. Maybe a moment in time, the sunrise in the mountains, your favorite stream, a beloved pet, a moment when you felt love, connection. And we use that moment to ground us into this feeling of appreciation. Maybe you put your hand over your heart and allow that feeling of warmth from your heart to radiate out to all the cells of the body. May they be invigorated and alive, fulfilling the divine blueprint of life and health. And let that feeling of appreciation radiate beyond your physical body into your room, into the space around you, to your neighborhood, covering your city, your state, the continent. And we reach out these arms of appreciation and love, of well-being to the whole world. We know that our intentions of love and well-being, of peace and joy, do connect and raise up in vibration with those same prayers from people all over the world, in whatever language they speak, in whatever place, tradition that they celebrate their connection with spirit. We know that the intentions of peace and love and joy, well-being and health are united. So we just rest in that wonderful blessing of love shooting around the world. And as we begin to ground back into the place that we are physically in this moment, maybe you notice whatever you may be sitting or standing on, how it supports you. Maybe you wiggle your fingers or toes, roll the neck, feel what it is to be in this place of conscious communion. Peace, peace, peace. Peace, peace, peace. Peace I am. Peace, peace, peace. Peace, peace, peace. Peace, peace, peace. Peace I am. Peace, peace, peace. Do you feel that? I feel that. Woo. All right. So every month I do a talk that's partially, at least, themed on one of Unity's 12 powers or attributes, faculties, spiritual faculties. There's lots of different things we call them. Anyway, Unity's 12 faculties of mind, spiritual powers, are they're like the Swiss Army knife, Swiss Army tool of your spiritual awareness. It's all made out of the same stuff. It's all that God energy, spirit, Christ energy, whatever you'd like to call it. But sometimes you need scissors, and sometimes you need a saw, and sometimes you need a screwdriver, right? That's the Swiss Army knife is for. And it's the same thing for our spiritual attributes. We need different things in different times, but they all work together. If you're going to build something, you very well likely will need more than one type of tool, right? And so that's what our spiritual attributes are for. It just helps us to focus in on several things and be able to work on things one at a time. And there's a number of books out there and resources about the 12 powers. Of course, the co-founder of Unity, Charles Fillmore, wrote a book called The 12 Powers. And that's the beginning book. The books I choose to use mostly for my research, because I've been around the 12 powers for a really, really long time. I don't usually go to Charles Fillmore. I usually use both Power Up by Paul Hasselbeck and Cher Holton, and Divine Audacity by Linda Martella Whitsitt, because these are modern language, modern examples. And I find that to be helpful in my getting ready to talk to you. And so today, the power of the month of August, it's August, can you believe it, is will. Will, which has the color attributed to it, which is silver. So will has, well, there's a lot of things to say about it. And what's cool about, so none of the powers are by themselves. They all work together. There's always that. But will is sort of like if you were playing a game that involved things like power-ups. Will is sort of like the power-up in a game, because this is from the book Power Up. So will is our ability to choose. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But will, so we're going to mix it with the other powers. So faith, we choose what we believe, right? Strength, we choose when, where, and for what we stay the course. We choose what we judge and when we apply what we know. That's the power of judgment or wisdom. For the power of love, we desire what we choose, what we desire, need, require, and for whom we have the highest regard. And it goes on and on and on. Power up. So will is our ability to choose, and not just choose, but then stay the course. So it's our power of choice, commitment, and then willingness. These would be the three sections that Linda Martella Whitsitt mentions in her book. And I always crack up. The very first, when I go and reread the chapter for will, the very first sentence in Linda's book is, have you noticed that human willpower is insufficient to carry us from an idea to its fulfillment? I always crack up. I think it's hilarious because it's such an understatement and such a truth, right? Have you noticed that human willpower is insufficient to carry us from an idea to its fulfillment? Now, this might not be entirely true if you're deciding to do something pretty simple, but if you're trying to do something monumental, usually just willpower is not enough, right? We're going to probably have to activate more of our spiritual powers to make that happen. So anyway, like I said, every time I read it, I think it's hilarious, and I have to tell you, and so the power of choice, the power of commitment, power of willingness. What does that all mean, and what does that look like in our world? Well, first, the power of choice. We decide. So we use our power of wisdom. We use our power of understanding to get the big picture, right? We use our power of wisdom to decide the course, to say, okay, this is what we think is the best thing to do. We use our power of love to show up as compassion and see our oneness with all. We use our power of faith to believe that it's possible. We use imagination to see what is possible, right? So we're using all these powers. We use our power of release to let go of the things that we're not going to use. All of these things, but then we have to choose, right? We have to choose to step down that path. And so we choose, and we take a step. Okay, now that we're doing that, now what? Well, then it continues to be will because of our commitment, right? Once we've stepped down that path, not only are we choosing to continue down that path, to stay committed to that path, committed to that choice, but it also means that we are choosing to not follow other paths. So one of the hardest things I think sometimes about choosing, when maybe there's been 2 different jobs to choose, or we come across these things. Maybe it's moving or not moving, buying a house or not buying a house, whatever. There's all these times that we make a choice, and they seem like a really big thing. And part of the reason, I think, is that once we start down this path, that we have made that path not accessible anymore. And that doesn't mean another path that looks similar may show up at another time. That may happen, but we have to be willing to let go of the path that's not the right path for us. I have been the person trying to do both, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So I've been inspired or remembered recently. I've been watching all sorts of things. I've watched several documentaries lately that reminded me or said to me something about this power. And one was, I was watching this documentary called Crip Camp, and it's about a camp. You may have seen it. I think it's on Netflix. And it's about camp for disabled folks back in the 70s, and where they realized that, oh wow, we have a lot in common, we can do more. And so they started talking about their frustrations, and from that a number of folks stood up and became activists. And this is something I just think is fascinating and it's amazing. The longest sit-in of a federal building to date was in 1977 by this group of folks, 28 days. And they were sitting in the federal building to say until they would get meaningful regulations for Section 504, which would mean that finally that there would be some protections for disabled folks and some privileges, civil rights for disabled folks. And 28 days, 150 people. They had a huge logistical things that they had to take care of each other. People had to bring in food. There was all sorts of things that had to happen to make this happen, but they did, and they stayed there until they got what they wanted. And so they made a choice. They decided, they used their inner wisdom. They knew that this was something that needed to happen. They made a choice, and then they stayed committed to it until they got where they wanted to be. But of course, that wasn't all. Then many of those same people moved forward and and said, well, this is good. This is a start, but it's not enough. And so they moved forward, and some of those same people helped create and move forward the Americans with Disabilities Act, which we just celebrated the 30-year of it being in action this summer. And still not enough, in my opinion, where we are. But these people stepped forward and said, I make a choice. This is what's important to me. I'm going to stay committed to it until we get to where we want to be. And the other documentary I watched recently that made me think about this, and it's, of course, it's in both of these examples have to do with civil rights. I watched the documentary about John Lewis called Get in the Way. And his mom told him to just, stay out of the way, but he realized he had to get in the way. And so here's what's amazing. I mean, most of us are aware of what happened with the bus boycotts, and we're aware of what happened and the violent history of some of these things. But I want to point out that a choice was made, that this is the time. I will no longer be second class. And so a commitment was made, and they stood. And this is the thing I think a lot of people of this time period forget about nonviolent action. It doesn't mean passivity. It means standing up as they're coming at you. Commitment, strong commitment to make the change. And then as John Lewis became a politician and worked in that capacity for many, many years, he still stood up. He went and helped people who were looking for immigration rights. He helped LGBTQ rights. He still continued to understand that civil rights was not just about one group or another group. It was about all the groups. Anyone who's not having equality needs support. And it was beautiful to see him continuing that thing. And at the very end of the documentary, he said, we're talking about building a lasting peace, a community at peace with itself. We're talking about building a lasting peace, a community at peace with itself. And that really touched me, because that's the world I would like to create. I'm guessing that's the world that you would like to create, a community at peace with itself. And so how do we create that, right? Well, we have to choose and be committed, right? We don't say, oh, well, that's a nice idea, and then go on to the next thing. Like Linda said at the beginning of her book, just making a decision one time isn't enough, right? So we have to activate our power of faith, that we believe that it can happen. We have to activate our power of strength that gives us the tenacity to stick to the path, right? We have to commit over and over and over to the path that we're taking. We may say, today I'm just overwhelmed, or I'm tired, or I want to give up. And you're allowed to take a moment. We need times of rest. But we still keep walking in that direction, whatever that direction is that we feel that needs to be. Whatever our passion is, whether it's about civil rights, whether it's about literacy, whether it's about food and making sure people have enough food, whether it's about changing policies so that whatever it is that you're excited about, right? Whatever it is that makes your heart break, as Andra Harvey would say, that's what we need to work on, and we stay committed and focused. So that's what our power of will is for. It may be when you think about willpower is like not eating ice cream. And it can mean that too. And that is a commitment that we continue to make, right? It's a choice we continue to make. But it can be so much more than that in a bigger context of how we live our lives. And sometimes we may say, oh, well, how do I affect? Maybe if we're passionate about taking care of the earth, the decisions are the decisions we make when we're choosing what we purchase at the grocery store. Those decisions count too, right? So we use our power of will to help create this world of peace. And there's one more piece that I haven't spoken about very much, and I just wanted to mention the last part that Linda speaks about. So she talks about choice and commitment. Those seem very straightforward. And then willingness. And this is where all of our powers, like anything else we do, can be used in skillful ways or less skillful ways. And so willfulness would be a less skillful way, right? Maybe you've seen those posts from parents of toddlers who are having a meltdown. The toddlers are having a meltdown because they want something that's completely not possible. And that would be willfulness, right? And we see that show up, of course, in grown-ups too, deciding that this is the way it has to be. And so willingness says, instead of grasping to this is the way it has to be, willingness means saying, oh, there could be other ways to achieve what I'm trying to achieve. A river just goes around the boulders, right? We don't have to go through the boulders necessarily. We can just go around them and keep on moving. And so willingness doesn't mean passivity once again, but it means willingness to take a step back and get a bigger picture and say, what's my true goal? My true goal is this. And that doesn't necessarily mean I have to go through this boulder. It means I can go around the boulder. And maybe it does mean, but it means not being so attached to one particular way, but meaning flowing. That willingness is very important, especially, I think, right? We're all having this experience of a restriction and a difference in how we're living our lives, right? And it's much easier to go with the flow. Okay, well, this is how we're doing our life, instead of being mad that we can't have it the way that it used to be. I mean, you can have those feelings, but it's not very helpful in moving us forward into what's next. Let's just move into what's next. Let's just move, right? So I hope that today we've talked some about this spiritual power of will that is in all of us. It can be used more skillfully or less skillfully. It is used in conjunction with all of our other spiritual attributes. And it is our choice, our ability to stay the path, to stay committed, and our ability to be willing and go with the flow. And so as we go forth into our day and into our world, may you remember to stay the course, and may you remember to go with the flow, which might sound a little bit contradictory, but they go together. So take care, friends. And so let's see. Yes, I do have an announcement. How exciting. Next Sunday, same place right here, but it won't be me. It'll be the awesome and fantastic Reverend Cherie Taylor Jones, who you saw a couple, when was that? July, I guess it was only a month ago. Anyway, she'll be back with a message, and I can't remember the title of it right off the top of my head, but I read the description and it's fantastic. So I hope that you will join her for that. And I also hope that you will head over to Fellowship on our Zoom channel. It would be great to see you there. The link to that is It'll be on the Facebook. It's on the Facebook. So anyway, so yes, so we're going to move on to our prayer for protection. So this is just a time where we hold in our hearts anyone who's just, you can speak aloud the names of anyone who's on our hearts today. The light of God surrounds us. We are the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love of God. The power of God protects us. We are the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. We are the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and so it is. Yes. All right, friends. So, yes, head over to the Zoom. We'll see you there. If you are not, thank you to our consistent givers. If you would like to support our ministry, you can head on over to unityofanchorage.org/donate. And you can, do the thing. Send some money. That would be great. And we'll have a wonderful week. And you can always hang out with me. Meditation at noon on our Facebook channel, noon Alaska time. So be well, friends. Take care and use the power of will to your best ability.